Because it's even more hilarious to think about Lonzo being like,
picking him up.
This lizard. What's this
take the
lizard?
lizard, man. Gotta put him in a prison. Okay, put him up there. Okay, now I gotta meet the Muppet. Oh my god, the Muppet's so bad. That Muppet smells so bad. Or I gotta get out there. Oh no, the Regent's gonna give a speech. Okay, I gotta get him back in here. A speech. Oh, I hate this guy. Oh, he's gonna die? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh man. Oh, I gotta do what? Oh no, I gotta get the lizard guy again. See you guy again. Bye. It's like that.
I'm debating in future making you just do one-person shows of these.
There's a hole in your mind.
Weak will survive. Just another cash grab.
I will kill Mike Slater.
Ladies' night out to Zahadoon, girls.
It's part of the code. The boneheads don't kill the other boneheads.
Just to get them all in.
Just my little thingies, get them all in there, nothing weird. Mummy is not a perfect film.
More dino glasses for the Narn.
Miss Piggy makes it on the deck.
Why is Mike on a sing about? I was born in Philadelphia.
The devil's mullet. And the year of joy.
The year is 2026.
The name of the show, You Gotta Check This Out.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of You Gotta Check This Out, where two old nerds show you stuff we think you should check out, or Mike, like a band, like Bob Dylan doing Electric, completely lose their theme. And instead of things you got to check out, we're showing you something you don't, which is Season 5 of Babylon 5.
Season 5 Babylon 5 may even gone past the whole Electric Bob Dylan thing onto his religious oncoming and then backing up against it. Some of the weirdest turns that Bob Dylan has made in later life. Even now, all he does is post AI bullshit on his Instagram. That's what Bob Dylan is on too. So this
is better than AI.
Yeah, I think this is better than what Bob Dylan eventually got down to. But yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, but as they say, misery loves company. Mike is a worse friend than I because you keep finding people to watch Season 5 of Babylon 5.
We thought this was stopped by Babylon 5. We thought this was stopped by Season 5. But no, I keep suckering people into coming on the show, just like a sucker punch to the sci-fi balls.
Bringing back Sucker Punch, I'll take it. So, Mike, who did you sucker into coming on tonight's show?
Today, we have bookseller Bill Johnston coming to us from Boston. Bill, could you say hi to the people out there?
Hi, people out there. I'm Bill.
That works.
And I sell
Bill.
books.
Yep.
I was going to say, I was loving the alliteration there with the number of B's you could get. Bill, Boston, bookstore.
Boston bookseller
absolutely
Bill.
Loving it. So, Bill, it does seem like fish in a barrel as a guest, because, of course, being a book aficionado, one of the things we brought up a ton about Babylon 5 is how much it relates to J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. A not subtle, obvious homage to it. However, it does Lord of the Rings one better. So Lord of the Rings, of course, as we all know, spoilers for the book and the movie. For people that haven't seen the movie that's been out 20 years now, holy cow, and the book that's been out almost 100. So, geez. They beat the big bad in the first third of the last book, and the end is really about the aftermath. And, I can go both ways. I can see saying that's boring. I can see people saying, that's more realistic to say, hey, at the end of the war, the heroes have injuries, post-traumatic stress. They don't get the happy endings, right? There's still things to deal with. Babylon 5 did that at the end of Season 4, Mike. And then we did it again. So Lord of the Rings had 3 fake endings. Babylon 5 has what, Mike?
Well, there are so many ways to look at this, because I've been calling it the Return of the King phase of Babylon 5, where they stop, they had the ending, and then they give you another ending, and then they pull it back and give you another ending, and then they pull it back. No, this is the ending. And it's almost like on this watch through, I feel like it almost has spin-off-itis, because they're trying to spin off all of these characters into their own thing over and over again, and it just confuses me every time I watch. Like, all right, are you trying to continue their story? Are they trying to end them? Are we trying to get something going with the universe? But yeah.
And Bill, so the thing we tend to ask new guests is, how much familiarity did you have with Babylon 5 before this show? And, we'll save to the end to ask if you're going to want to check any more out. But I'm going to let you know that's on deck.
I'm more of a Trek guy, to be honest. I know that I watched at least a few episodes back in the day, but I virtually no memory of what any of it involved. Mostly I relate to it like the cast, knowing them from other things. Like you've got Tron, you've got the one-armed man from The Fugitive, you've got the evil kid from the Twilight Zone / Will
Bill
Robinson.
Mummy, good
and everything. Good memory, yeah.
You've got Flounder from Animal House.
Yeah.
And one thing that I hadn't remembered is Rousseau from Lost.
Yes.
As Delin. Yeah. So, like that's sort of that's the way I relate to it, is like, I know all these people from other things. And I sort of had a vague idea of the general arc, but we launched into this episode and I'm like, wait a minute, he's president now? President of what? I don't remember him being a president.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bunch more depth. I'm glad, Mike, that you picked this episode. So we are doing episode 106, which is season 5, episode 18, The Fall of Centauri Prime. Man, just giving it away in the title, which is something JMS did not do in the first 4 seasons. He was intentionally cagey, opaque. Okay, here's what we do got. Now, we typically do a previously on, but the spoiler we have is that Mike and I and old guests shotgun the previous. I figure what makes the most sense, Mike, is to kind of set the plate for Bill, because this episode on its own makes sense. This was a good episode to choose from this season, because standalone, it's good. The problem with it is that this is the finale to, say, a 6-episode arc that needed this episode.
Yeah, I started looking at the previous episode where they kind of pulled out of the tail dive of the series, because JMS was really kind of getting nowhere with what he was trying to do. As I said, everything felt like he was trying to set something up for the world that could keep continuing on a story that was meant to be told in one arc that he had already done. So it almost feels like we keep talking about not just the Return of the King, the end of all the Lord of the Rings stuff, but almost like the MCU, where they told a good story, they did what they had for a while, and then just after Endgame, trying to pull it up. These are the episodes where I kind of can see where they could have gone and built a Babylon 5 universe. He's not just ending stories or tying off loose ends like he has been the entire time, but there's actually a lot of good thematic moments in this episode and a lot of really good, some of the best acting scenes I've seen from the entire series. And it very much surprised me to come out of this season.
Yeah, and if you take this, actually, Bill, like you did it the right way, which is do not watch the entire season in this episode, because literally Mike has like a text chain for me being like, why is this? I think I say, why is this still going 20 times, right, Mike? Is in my
like
annotations?
About like 1.5 times per episode.
Yeah, per episode, yeah. But this one on its own, because, I went and rewatched it before we did this, stands on. But let's set the plate for you, Bill, and you can interrupt at will or take a nap. Take your pick, because I do blather on, and I can already hear the music Mike's going to play in the background as I start talking.
Previously on
Babylon 5.
Previously on. Okay, so thing to kind of understand is there was this big war in seasons 1 through 4 that was put on by the Vorlons and the Shadows. The Shadows, like I said, the Sauron kind of representative, and the Vorlons, interesting, right, where they're like heroes, but you do actually have a very wizarding thing where they're good, but are they good/bad? So you have these two, they're ancient races. They
almost
are
like
so
a gray wizard type thing.
Yeah, 100%. And you basically have two ancient races that are essentially gods in comparison to these lower races that are playing a game of checkers, chess. I've also compared it to the movie Trading Places, if you're familiar. I know that reference is starting to die. It's so old. But just two super powerful people having a bet for $1 with the fate of the galaxy at stake. And very much like Lord of the Rings, all of the lower races team up and get them to leave. They don't throw a ring into a fire. They give a compelling speech. It was weird. But there's a great episode with Logan Trent on it. We do. So that was kind of the big thing. And then we do have the fallout with, hey, when the god races are all gone and you have all these races that have passed the prime directive in the galaxy, what do they all have to do? But we dealt with all of the civil wars at the end of season 4. Now what we have is one of the allies of the Shadows, so you could probably think like the orcs in Lord of the Rings, is kind of dealing with the fallout because their head honcho, who is Londo Mollari, who we're going to talk a lot in this episode, kind of had a change of heart. He allied with the Shadows, the most evil race in the galaxy, went, oops, I was wrong, and literally timed it in the worst possible way, where he said, screw you all, I'm done, where had he done nothing, he would have been fine. Because he did that.
Yeah, we often bring it up as Londo made a monkey's paw wish very early on in season 1, got exactly what he wished, and the rest of the entire series has been just like him getting beat down for that monkey's paw again and again from the one wish.
And kind of every time he even tries to do something right, he either does it the wrong way. It's like very funny. I did something good. And they're like, but you were a sociopath doing it. Like there were arcs like that where I'm going to atone for my actions. They're like, you atone for your actions by selling out your best friend and lying to all of your best friends. But I did good, right? And they're like, no.
Not to mention committing genocide on that entire best friend's race.
He is kind of.
It gets bad. It gets really bad, Bill.
Yeah, but that's Londo, and that is kind of the problem. Is the Centauri were an ally of one of the worst organizations in the in the galaxy. And so what we have is in season 5, there's a reckoning, but I'll be very interested to see how it played to you, Bill. But like, it's weird because this is literally seeing the villains that we've hated for 4 seasons getting beaten up, and we're supposed to care. And to be honest, it's hard to care. I don't know if you felt the same way, Mike.
Oh, I felt like throughout season 5, there's the whole trade route things in science fiction I've never seen it be a very successful hang your hat plot on. They're attacking shipping routes in this one, and it almost seems like a backstory to everything we got from Byron, as opposed to like the first few seasons where they were fighting Earth and Clark's forces always in the background, and that really came to a head after they got through the Vorlon and Shadow War, as opposed to now where everything of this, it kind of feels like an afterthought to the big thrust of the season. And I think that's a shame because I do like this episode. I still think that this episode really brought it around, finished Londo's story in a good way, had a couple of good moments, especially like we'll get to Lanier and Delenn, what they had to go through in this episode. It sets up a nice final beat for the two of them later on at the end of the season. So yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this episode.
And I'll let you be the punctuation, Bill. So coming in completely blind, and now we've given you more context than you need. How did this episode land for you?
It was a bit weird not knowing all of that, and yet I felt like it was pretty accessible. You know, you could sort of pick up on the major beats. I think part of that is just there's a lot of tropes that you see in other places that sort of come into play there. It would have made me interested in seeing the build up to it, but all your table setting has maybe made me question that desire.
Yeah, it's interesting where I would say the table setting to it is fairly good in seasons, I would say 2 through 4. But that's the problem is I do feel season 5 was just a lot of filler. I think understandably so. The backstory that we've told a couple times now is J. Michael Straczynski, prolific author, comic writer, been in television, done just about everything. He wrote a 5-season arc for this television show, but was told he was getting canceled at season 4, so he did the reasonable thing and said, I'm going to wrap everything up in season 4 so then at least my fans don't go away disappointed. And then at the last second was told, hey, we're going to give you that season 5. But the issue with that is, you know, to keep it in band metaphors, Mike, because I've been loving those recently, getting my head there, is like, it would be like a band giving an encore. But if the band had already kind of packed everything up and the drummer went home, who wants an encore? And they're like, well, the microphones aren't set up anymore. The guitarist went home.
It's almost like they had a show. They played Madison Square Gardens, and then it's like, we're going to play at Bob's house later after that. It's like, no, that would be great to just do a party at Bob's house, but we are so tired. You gave us everything. Nope, we're going to do the party over at Bob's house anyway. Bob's house isn't as great as what they had before.
Babylon 5 party at Bob's house is the best way to spin it to sound good. But yeah, all right, so that's the table setting. Now, with apologies, Bill, Mike and I tried to clear out most of the table leading into this. We did 16 action-packed segments on our previous several episodes of Blitzcast. Sadly, though, we did not get to episode 17. And so you have to get subjected to even more.
I don't know why you sound so bad, because episode 17 is where the story actually starts to gel. You could have told Bill just now that, well, you could just watch episode 17 and the rest of the season and be good and just forget about the rest of Babylon 5.
All right. But anyway, Mike, to your point, episode 17 is kind of where it gets going.
Centauri have been attacking all the shipping routes of the Alliance, which is what Babylon 5 has turned into in this season 5 world. So then they've been trying the whole season to figure out, all right, why are they attacking? They're a part of the Alliance. Why are they attacking ourselves? When they finally realized that the Shadows, one of the two god races from before we were talking about, they had left their thralls who have been putting these biological pods above the Centauri ships. Centauri forces attack any allied forces to sow chaos within everybody. So by now that all comes to a head, and some of the races that have old grievances with the Centauri are using this as an excuse to attack Centauri Prime homeworld.
One other thing that Mike had brought up and just said is that, we have Lita Alexander, who shows up a little at the end of this episode, the redhead. She is the most powerful telepath in the galaxy that no one takes seriously. She's trying to find a homeworld for telepaths. Don't worry about it. It was
you are all over the place. You just keep thinking back on season 5. Remember to better times. You just keep trying to go back and back as I'm trying to say, take you on.
No, but that's what you're saying, Mike, when you're like, let's talk to episode 17 is it's going, there are all these aborted arcs that do happen, but the key thing is that I would say happens in last episode and this episode is Lita Alexander's like, I'm going to tell you a bunch of important stuff about the galaxy. People are like, neat, let's move on. And you're like, why don't we stay with her? And they're like, trade routes. Let's go to trade routes. Mike,
she's established as the most powerful weapon in the galaxy in human form, and you're just like poo-pooing her. Don't do that.
Yeah, that happens multiple times. So Mike, anything else you want to say about the previous episode where we do everything comes to head over trade routes?
I mean, at the beginning of this episode, they put it out well, where with the recap does it well, because they show the Regent has disabled all of Centauri Prime's defenses, revealing that he just let everybody in to attack them for some reason. And this is the episode where we find all that out. So now I think we're ready for the episode.
And that would have been a good plot arc, but very much like Star Wars, literally we had that exact same conflict to end season 4 done better.
All right, Dre. If you are all set for that recap, we are now on to the next segment, which of course is going to be the Talia Winters memory quiz. Bill, are you ready for a quiz on the episode we had you watch?
Am I ready? No.
Good. No one ever is.
But am I going to do it? Yes.
All right. We're going to jump right into it. The first question category is Sentimental Minbari. Question: what Star Wars episode does Delenn quote when Lanier says, I love you?
Bill,
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. Episode 5.
Episode 5 is correct. Point goes to Bill. Episode 5. All right, second question. The category is Delane Dreams. Who rescues Delenn and Lanier?
Drazy. Is it enough to say Londo with the Centauri fleet at Londo's behest?
That's all I was looking for was the Centauri fleet, but yes, that is correct. All right. Category the third. Crawlers. Where do keepers come from?
Drazy.
Dre.
When a mommy keeper and daddy keeper love each other very much, or they're a creepy thing that comes off the Drock and is controlled by the Drock.
So they're creepy pustules on the Drock's body that they pop off of. That is correct. All right. Category the fourth. Centauri Supreme. What two Alliance factions start the Centauri Prime attacks at the start of the episode?
I'll give you a hint. My pun answer, Bill, was one of them, but I'll give you one more second to buzz in before I go for it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let this wear out because Mike does multiple choice and he puts thought into them, and I want to see what you did.
Oh, you want to hear? Okay.
I want to hear the multiple choices.
Here's the multiple choice. Is it A, Narn and humans? Is it B, Narn and the Rangers? Is it C, the Narn and the Pak Mara? Or is it D, the Narn and the Drazi?
Drazy buzzing in. It's the Narn and the Drazi.
You are correct, Dre. The Narn and the Drazi. All right, last category. one regicide after another. According to the Drakh, why are they killing the regent?
Drazy, he gives, if I'm understanding right, because he's kind of talking to the regent, he gives Londo an excuse as to justify all of the killing that's been going on, but still lets them keep control of Centauri Prime. So it's having their cake and eating it too.
That is correct. He knew they were plotting to betray him, so he was going to be the patsy for everything that happened in the shipping wars. Bill, that was so good of you. I saw you just kind of wink at me each time and just give it to Dre because he needed it. So I'm going to give all those points to Bill because I think he deserves it more. That's 5-0.
Let me just say here, I was maybe overthinking the answers too much. Number 4 was the only one that I definitely would not have gotten.
With the Narn and the Drazi.
All right.
Well, this time I spent all the time on the category names because they were all puns on titles from Academy Awards movies in 2026.
Really? I am very much okay. Thank you, Mike, for leaving an Easter egg for me to enjoy editing.
I thought that one regicide after another would be the giveaway.
Although I'm behind, I don't know stuff. Okay, I'm going to do my best, Bill, to just keep throwing you the ball as we go through because it is wild. But this is actually, now that we're here, not a horrible episode. Now, what we get right, we start out with a recap. All good shows need someone spending 2 minutes explaining everything that just happened. But namely, Centauri have, via either alliance or remote control, have been attacking everybody for the last 4 years. The Drazi and Narn are fed up with it. We have formed the United Nations where basically they all agreed. Like Sheridan and Delenn are like, whatever you do, we'll agree with. And then immediately the Narn and Drazi are like, we're going to beat up the Centauri. And they're like, all right, that's on us. We agreed. So episode starts. Everybody's just beating up the Centauri. Sheridan is going, is there any way we can get out of this? And we've got it rough because the Regent sent everybody away, but they're coming back. Earth is there with their fleets agreeing to help out, and it's, oh no, are we going to have to fight? Please, God, can we fight? Spoiler alert, we don't end up fighting.
Yeah, but everything's coming to head with Sheridan, who's now the president of the Alliance. He's trying to talk down the Narn and the Drazi, who are really all about, yeah, let's get them Centauri. They gave us that excuse in the shipping lines. Let's just get their planet. And Sheridan is just trying to figure out some way to convince them not to destroy the Alliance by attacking, because Centauri are technically part of the Alliance, and it's hard for me watching this the second time. It's like, even remembering, how does the Alliance even stay together if they're all attacking each other now out of nowhere?
Yeah, so I'm curious, as someone who doesn't have 4 years of watching the show, start of the show, Bill, I got to know from an outside observer, how did you feel about the stakes to start this episode?
I honestly didn't really understand what was going on, so it's just like pew pew pew. Actually, it's funny because the subtitles are like zapping.
Yeah, so there literally was pew pew pewing
as these ships are just like shooting these beams of energy down, and I'm like, this seems excessive.
Yeah, that's the problem is, previous seasons, these space battles have been for the fate of the galaxy, and now they're just like, you heard our trading lines, we're going to bomb your planet. And you're like, all right. And then we also do get on the flashback, right, that Delenn and Lanier were going on a mission. They were attacked by the Centauri and are stranded in hyperspace. So like Delenn, right, is on a vessel whose engine is blown out and is floating in space. Mike has one of my favorite lines in the script for the upcoming scene, which is probably some of the most poignant, but most hilarious as well.
Well, this guy, he's just an evil Muppet.
Mike has Londo meets an evil Muppet, and I do think this is key, Mike, and I want to build it because it is. We have this gravitas to a big reveal, and
it's a Muppet. He's supposed to be the big bad of the season, and it's got this like visibly styrofoam mask that he's wearing, and there's times when there's a stinger. It's like Londo goes to him, you wouldn't have put the bombs everywhere on the planet, and there's a stinger that goes dun dun, and this Muppet just holds up this like firing trigger, almost like a firing pistol starter. No, I haven't, and I can blow you up at any moment.
And I want to stress, Bill, I'm definitely going to want to hear your comments. But what I love too is in this back and forth, at one point, Londo asks him a question. And to the Muppet point, Mike, this was like Sesame Street. Londo's, you did this? And he nods. Yeah. And it felt like a Sesame Street or Blue's Clues moment. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, now maybe Mike and I are being unfair. So, Bill, how did the Drock play to you?
He was a man of very, very few words. It was very underwhelming. Like, as you said, this is supposed to be the big bad.
Yeah.
And he's just...
Well, his first words are even,
We are just a shadow of a shadow.
Well, yeah, that was what's great is that, to be fair, right, we've got... So this scene does play well if it weren't for the damn Muppet, which is we've got the Regent... And,
oh, no, don't get me wrong. I loved the damn Muppet. That just made the scene for me.
Okay, you can go two ways, but let's be clear where Mike just said the Muppet made the damn scene. I'm a fan of low-budget BBC shows like early seasons of Doctor Who. So
I'm a sucker for Muppets. What can I say?
Sucker for Muppets, we all are. This is a poignant scene because we have a character who is the Regent. Well, Centauri Prime has basically been the villains this entire time. The Regent is this silly guy that we have no idea why he's involved in this political intrigue. So Londo is, we got to kill people, and the emperor that he disposed of was wild. And we've had all of these basically really insidious, almost House of Cards-ish political characters for the last 4 seasons. And the Regent's just this silly dude who's just talking about decorating a palace and just very silly and laughs. And every time we see him, we're like, what are you doing here? And he winds up becoming interim emperor in part because of that, because all of these people have their own agendas. So none of them can get put in charge immediately. Where this guy's, no one has an issue with him.
Yeah, he's like the perfect guy to set up as an eventual patsy for what your plan is to take over the planet, which is what happens
here. If you were taking over the planet, yeah. Because if you weren't doing that, you're just like, oh, as the fun guy, I'll steal a plot point from another show we like, Gary Gergich on Parks and Rec. So it becomes tragic because this guy has been taken over and is being forced to do horrible things. And he's giving this really depressing speech where he's just telling Londo, he's just, going between that happy thing and then darkness, right? Where he'll just be like, oh, I like this. And he's, but I'm almost done. It's awesome.
Well, and it took me a couple times to watch this. What I didn't like about this episode of my first watch through Babylon 5 was we knew every plot beat going into this. This episode is something that was foretold. We knew that the keepers were going on. We knew that the Regent had a keeper going in. We knew that what the plot was coming into this episode. And so the first time I was like, the whole Babylon 5 has been like really good, well thought out political intrigue plots between empires. And for me to see this at first, I was very plot driven. It didn't do much for me. But on the second and third times I watched it for this episode, the acting really came through in this. And you just mentioned the guy playing the Regent, we've gotten to see him as this bumbling, like kind of talks like me all the time, can't get words out of his mouth, but like now he's just like extremely coherent as he's explaining to Londo, hey, here's what's been going on the whole time. I have been forced to have this thing that controls me for this alien race that took over a planet, and I can't say anything about it because they've put bombs all over the planet. And if I say anything, we lose our entire society.
When I mentioned, he has like a sing-song, his normal happy-go-lucky voice, and then this very serious voice. He basically says, hey, by the way, I'm your excuse. I'm your way out of it. And then he says, it's okay, I don't mind. And it was just like, damn.
Okay. I won't be here. It won't matter.
Yeah, that crushed me. So, Bill, I'm going to ask. So we talked about the Muppet, the man, a few words. Did the Regent's acting, how'd that go for you?
It was weird. He reminded me of, there was a good tension between the way he performed and what he was saying, because the performance sort of reminded me of the priest in the marriage scene in Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm. Yes, his voice definitely says that. Marriage.
You get that sort of goofiness, but then, he did actually make you feel the tension that he was dealing with.
Yeah, he got it across like because he was in a bind. The whole theme of this for the Centauri part of the plot has been like there is no choice. They both him and Londo later in the episode just said there is no choice. We have to do what we have to do.
And I thought he and Londo sort of played off each other well.
Yeah, so then basically he does die. The keeper comes off. We see what's going on. And they're basically like, you're next, Londo. And Londo knows that's going to happen. The Drakh are not interested in destroying Centauri Prime. They're interested in revenge. So they don't want to just blow up Centauri Prime. They want a new home, and it's kind of like a parasitic thing. They're going to make Centauri Prime their new home, and in the meantime, they're going to make the Centauri race kind of just destroy themselves, isolate themselves.
Yeah, they're downgrading the entire society just so they can take over.
They're doing both. It's like a nice combo revenge. We're going to take it. That's really fun. And so Londo knows it's coming, and the reason he can't do anything, the reason the Emperor couldn't do anything is they've got drones that are controlling the military. They've got bombs all over the planet. That was a little bit of nice dramatic irony, which is Londo, one of his most clever maneuvers is to get the shadows off of Centauri because they were allied briefly. He hid bombs under the island they were all stationed at and blew them up. And they even say, they're like, we learned from your ways, so we did the exact same thing, but it's the flip side now. Instead of being bombs...
That was the moment I was referring to earlier where the Muppet pulled like the igniter out. It was like, bum, bum, I've got the detonator.
He's, the Muppet. We learned it watching you. I learned my Muppetry watching you. That's fair. So the Centauri are just destroyed. If this was a story, it's okay, you've backed your hero into the corner. How are they going to get out? And the spoilers, the seasons, they don't. So that's the problem for me.
Well, we kind of skipped over a part in the beginning. Like the whole show opens with them getting bombarded by the Alliance, and Londo goes and saves Jakar.
They're bombarding the planet and basically saying the Centauri fleet's coming back. Sheridan with the Earth Minbari fleet's on its way, but they're allied with the Narn and the Drazi. So if they get there and the Centauri show up, they are allied. They're going to have to fight the Centauri, and they don't want to do that. And Delen's out there. Oh no, does anybody know where Delen is? So we have all of these, like, what's going to happen?
The balls are flying in the air. What's going to happen?
And just comparing this to previous Babylon 5, actually, I'm going to steal this, Bill. Did any of that tension do anything for you?
Not so much. I didn't feel like Sheridan was really playing up the stakes well. I also didn't have a sense of, who the Narn are, the lizard people, right? With Tomalak / the one-armed man, Jakar, right? He's Narn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the Drazi.
Yeah, like the artichoke heads.
They didn't play too much in this episode. Yeah.
So I felt like it needed a little more oomph.
Now we do get one of these, another poignant, well-acted scene that's just let out of place, which is Londo gets to go talk to Jakar, and I am glad we got this scene. And Mike, I do think we needed this scene, and I think we needed this scene in season 4. Because just for perspective, Bill, these two have been the biggest antagonists against each other, but we missed a few beats of some kind of reconciliation. And so Londo actually apologizing in this, he's talking to Jakar, who's injured inexplicably, and Londo's, hey, you agreed to follow me as my bodyguard. You need to go. And we're seeing a lot of Old Yeller. Londo's going to do a bunch of Old Yeller to his friends. Londo does do some of the reconciliation that's needed to be like, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I've become fond of you. You need to go. Jakar saying basically, I'm never going to be able to forgive your race, but I think I can forgive you. Really poignant scene. Everyone in this season is so annoyingly idiotic because Londo is basically saying, Jakar, I'm about to be mind controlled, and it's not me doing this. It might be an alien race. So he says something like, I might start acting not like myself. The position changes you. If you hear things about me, try and remember me well. Right? And anybody should be like, that's weird. I should do something about that. Jakar's neat. Talk to you later, man. Am I wrong, by the way, Bill? How'd the scene play to you? I did think this one was well acted, and I did like the back and forth.
I agree 100%. Maybe knowing a little more about their relationship would have helped. But again, it was a very, two good performances playing off each other. And yes, I did wonder, how much more subtext could Londo throw down and not get picked up on. Oh, was just going to say that scene where the Simpsons are going into witness protection, and they're like, he says to Homer, "How do you do, Mr. Thompson?" And Homer's like, "I think he's talking to you." So
yes,
no,
exactly that.
It was a good scene.
Yeah, Jakar's looking around. You're talking to someone else, and it's just shake your head.
Well, this was like this whole scene between the two of them. It calls back the earlier scene about, I think it was last season or season 3, where Lando's trying to come back to Jakar to make up for him with that bottle and wants to pour shots for him. And Jakar, instead of having the shot when Lando is trying to apologize to him for everything and saying, "What can I do to make up between us?" he just pours the shot out and says, "There's nothing we can do." So this is like a continuation of that exact scene. He can never completely forgive Lando. There has to be something in it. But he says it in a perfect way, like what you said before, is I can forgive you even if our races cannot forgive what we did.
Yes, and yeah, we basically, here's the thing, this is a great scene. This scene plays well in season 4 between a bunch of other stuff. At this point, we're like, Mike resonates with you and I both, resonates with me this entire episode. It's if you're going through a conversation, you're like, oh, wait, one more thing, and you jump back. That is so much of season 5.
And what I did like about this leading into the next scene, if we're ready, like the scene after this is the one where Lando actually gets the keeper. And that was, I felt, a huge callback to earlier in its last season. One of the big plot lines was Jakar had been taken by the Emperor of Centauri Prime, and in one scene takes him down to get a lashing, and he has to get like 37 lashings right in front of Lando, and he doesn't show any pain at all. It's supposed to be like this super sci-fi blue whip that puts energy and electricity, and it kills you on the 37th whip. And they have this like very stern of the lizard man just refusing to budge and refusing to scream or anything. And this scene where Lando is getting the keeper, like crawling up to him, going up on him, or he's fighting the urge to give into it and show any pain. I thought that was a really good callback to that earlier scene.
Yeah, this episode on its own, like I imagine without context, like Mike sees the gravitas with that, but that scene you're probably like, what's going on? Where he gets the little keeper put on.
It's probably just took it at face value. It's like there's a creepy crawly on him. He's getting the alien thing.
Again, there is some subtext there that not having access to it, it doesn't play. I thought it was a good scene, and I sort of understood what the stakes were, but maybe not everything that was going on. I did have a question about that when, the keeper taps into him or whatever it does, and he's got some sort of a device in his hand.
That was the detonator, and it's not, again, and that's the hat in a hat. It's going, we have these things. If you don't do what we say, we're going to blow up your planet. You're like, neat. He's also, I'm going to put a keeper on you that is, a telepathic link to this guy that lets him control him. And it's also worth noting we have telepaths in this galaxy that can control people. So that's kind of the problem, is it's like there are too many mechanisms to exert control.
I think part of it was they only made one evil Muppet's hand, so they couldn't ever have a scene if they accidentally shot him in the hand. It would always have that detonator. They could be having eaten dinner later. Whoops, still have the detonator in the Muppet hand.
See, I thought something was in Lando's hand, and he was signaling.
Oh, no, I know exactly what that was. So that was the moment where the keeper actually put its tentacles into it for the final time, and that was him showing pain. If he wasn't anything in his hand, it was just him clenching his fist. Okay. It's like, no, I'm still not going to shout out in pain and give them the satisfaction, but it fucking hurts.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that the stupid Muppet, right? You've got these well-acted scenes that are poignant, and this has been a running theme on the show about production value, set design. A reason Babylon 5 always kind of lagged behind Star Trek is Star Trek just had pre-built sets, pre-built costumes to work from, and Babylon 5 often had to start from scratch. The Drakh are a new race this season, and they tried to do a variant of them last season. It was kind of like a ghost kind of thing. It just did not work. So it's just kind of like, this is a brand new alien that I'm going to agree
The
with Mike.
styrofoam Muppet is a huge improvement, upgrade way up.
It's an upgrade from previous, but it's like a downgrade from the Narn. Doesn't look as... I would have just preferred the draw. That would have actually played better if the draws were like, FYI, we were actually thralls of the shadow all along.
No, they could have used the Narn design and just, this is an offshoot of the Narn race. We have this great design already. No one said we have to do styrofoam rock mad Muppet.
You know, having like evil Narn that had been from like the previous Shadow War that it wound up being thralls, and you could add like telepathic thralls of... Sorry, we're not allowed to do this, Mike. I'm sorry. We can make it better, but that's not this show. Okay, now we do get the amazing resolution to this coming to a head. We had a cliffhanger last episode. We had a previously on. We had a start of the show. All of these forces are coming together. What's going to happen? Londo and Sheridan Skype.
Yep.
That's the resolution.
They like directed. Captain, we have a call. It's coming in for you. It's on the Zoom.
And yeah, Londo's just, hey, the regent died of a broken heart. We're going to stop attacking things. And Sheridan, and this is the fun stuff, right, Sheridan? I want to come down and talk to you. So Londo's not a good idea. Sheridan, well, I've gotta. And it's a nothing burger, but he comes down. Londo kind of puffs up his chest and yells and is, we're going to rebuild and we don't need your stupid alliance and we're going to be fine. And if I do anything nice for you, it's so funny because he is shouting at him. And we did a Simpsons reference. One of my favorite Simpsons episodes is the two chess players, the Russian chess players, and they're yelling at each other, but the subtitles are they're being nice. And so Sheridan's, please help me find my wife. And Londo's, if I help you find your wife, it'll be as a favor, not because you asked me to. And you'd be like, so you're going to help? He's, yeah, I'm going to help. Like, cool.
What I kind of like, too, about the staging of this is the first time that Londo is sitting in kind of the emperor's chair, actually, like right before he's going to become emperor. So it's almost like we get this twofold thing of him starting to feel himself and feel like, hey, I'm in this position of power. But the very way the camera angle goes at him, he's below Sheridan as well, talking up to him. So it's almost like you can see that he has this power, but he's still under control of the Drock. And this is also the first scene in which we see him in which he's changed from being free without the Keeper to now he has the Keeper on him. So he's been like a very soft character throughout this, like giving all these tearful goodbyes, and then all of a sudden he's gone back, snap, oh, I am the bad Londo again. I thought it was a really good job that Peter Jurassic did through all this. Somewhere in there,
and they're talking about, Londo's talking about finding or, sending the fleet out to look for Delenn or whatever. And I feel like he looks over at the Drock, and then the impression that I got was that Delenn wasn't going to make it. Like, he's sort of, without asking, just like looking at him saying, we can rescue her, right? And the response is no.
Yeah, that was they did have that scene where he looks at the Muppet and the Muppet just goes, what? They're going to die?
It is literally that. That is the issue, right? Even in that one scene with the Drock where they went with silence, like the Drock's not speaking, like, they're going to go with the silent, doesn't say anything, is creepy. And then it opens its mouth and you're like, why? And then again, this other scene. Now, by the way, there is a bit of easy in-story lore to explain this. Delenn and Sheridan are two of the reasons the Shadows left. And the Drock want a new planet, and they also want revenge on everybody that betrayed the Shadows. So the Alliance, the Centauri all count. Delenn is pregnant with Sheridan's kid. They're pregnant together. It's an Earth-Minbari hybrid, like the first ever to happen via direct breeding on the human side. The Drock want to control that in the future, and we will actually see that. So if we're like, wait a minute, why did they save Delenn? This I'll give you, right? This actually is a mystery, this show that keeps on and is explained later, which is going, Delenn's going to die because the Drock hate her. She's lost in space. The only people that can help her are the Centauri. And then, spoiler alert, they get saved. And we're gonna talk the heartbreak before that save. And the reason that actually makes a lot of sense is the Drock go, she's pregnant. We can put a Keeper on her kid and get our final revenge. Because we do see, right, Londo's yelling, he's not in control. He's pleading with the Drock, please help my friends. They do help his friend, but it's insidious reasons. So I did like that wasn't a major plot spoiler. But before that happens, oh my God, before that happens, we get the roughest thing ever, which is...
We get the scene, the Delenn and Lanier lost in space love scene.
Yeah, so Lanier showed up. He's the attaché to Delenn. The show had a bunch of, major ambassador, captain, and their sidekick. That was a major throughput for the show. And Delenn showed up, and he was the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid following around Delenn. Clearly is in love with her and infatuated with her, and that's been a running theme. And this season, it's too hurtful for me to watch you married to Tron. I'm going to go off and train and be a badass because maybe I can help you.
Well, he kind of explicitly says, I'm going off because I want to be the type of person that, Sheridan is so that I can win you from him. And it's, well, she's already married to him, having his kid. It's the ship has kind of sailed, Lanier, and he's still going after it this whole season.
So, and he has been doing a good job becoming a ranger, but I have liked that throughout 5 seasons of Babylon 5 with Lanier, he has always acted very noble and pure. And then when you kind of push it, he does underhanded things. He does weird things all of the time. So it's one of those, ends justify the mean people where you're like, he's so nice. And you're like, but didn't he do this? He justified it. So
it's like a lot of voting scenes. There's a couple specific scenes where they do a council and you think that he's going to vote one way, but he manipulates everybody else so that his vote, he can justify why he voted for the bad thing, but it still happened anyway in his favor. So a lot of political machinations he's been behind.
But so he's on the ship. He's doing everything he can. He's trying to help the life support. He's trying to get the thrusters to keep him as close to the beacon as possible. The final thing he does, which is fun, right, is he basically sends up a flare. They can use the weapon system as a flare. Is maybe someone will see us, and then, of course, the fun end is the Centauri fleet sees. You're like, oh, no, they're dead, but they're not.
Well, it wasn't him who used the flare. He knew how to use it, but this was a really good character moment for Delenn because she wordlessly in that moment, they're about to die, and then Lanier says, yes, we're almost out of the fuel, but if you push this buttons in the green-red sequence, we'll use it, but we might get saved. And she just goes for it. She just makes that decision because throughout this show, she's consistently been a leader who makes decisions in the moment. And I thought it was just another good character moment for, she's exactly the type of person who would just, that's our last chance. We have to do it now. I'm going to do it.
Agreed. And then the rough part before that, though, this is the toughest, is Lanier goes, I love you. Delenn, after everything, when they do get saved, is like, so no.
She says, I know right away. She acknowledges.
Right away. But then after, this is where it gets rougher. When they get saved, she's,
maybe I didn't hear what you said. I'll give you an out.
And that is the worst, right? The apathy or, it's if she viewed him as a threat, it would be better than her basically saying, I didn't view it as a threat, and she's going to leave it alone. So, that's kind of rough. And, this is 5 seasons of a story arc kind of getting wrapped here. Part 1 of the wrap. We'll do part 2 later. But, Bill, as a judger of bills, as an expert in bills, how did Bill Mummy do here?
He did pretty well, and there was a lot of cringe in me, like, oh, man, that's rough. That's rough.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep up the Simpsons metaphor. That is 100% the Ralph Wiggum's heartbreaking Lisa episode. I'm glad we all have the same,
I choose you.
Yeah, we all know the same era of the Simpsons. Yes, that was 100% Ralph Wiggum's heartbreak.
Right where Lanier's...
That might be fun to do. You could probably do a Simpsons voice or Bart saying that. If you pause it right here, you can see. All right. Veer comes to Londo. And Lando's basically, you're going back to Babylon. Go on, get out of here. Go back to Babylon 5.
To Babylon 5. You're the ambassador now. Yeah. I'm not the ambassador. You are. You do it. Go.
Go, get out of here. And then he does do a, giant hologram in the sky of him addressing Centauri Prime and basically going, I am totally not under control of an evil alien. FYI, if you were one of my previous allies, this shouldn't raise any red flags. You definitely shouldn't look into this, which rest assured they don't. But the big Hitler puffing up speech of, will we grow stronger? We don't need this alliance. We'll do it on our own. And it's kind of like everybody watching this should kind of go, maybe we shouldn't all leave Centauri Prime and leave it alone for 20 years. Maybe that's a bad idea. But that ship has sailed. In show, we've already seen that happen. This is a good off-ramp for that to kind of talk, which is, how did holographic Londo dictator in the sky play for you.
The speech was well performed, but the giant hologram, I thought was a little ridiculous. Is he projecting it all over the planet, or just, right outside the palace there?
Yeah, it has to be like a Wizard of Oz things where it shows like how actually weak somebody is when they do that. Or like even remember the Grandmaster in Ragnarok did that, like posted himself. So it's almost like showing that a leader is a buffoon. But yeah, it's kind of hard to take.
But just the turn from what I imagine he had been like to his, I don't know if they're friends or just peers, like Sheridan and the rest,
co-workers,
and then we're withdrawing from the alliance, we're going to go alone, it's going to be a time of suffering, but we need to do it to be strong and rebuild. And one thing that sort of kept occurring to me throughout this episode is just how much it is relevant to current events.
Yeah, that's the other thing that keeps coming up a lot throughout much more in season 3 and 4 than now. But yeah.
But then, yes, the weird bit where like they're looking out the window at this and, he was just standing in the next room and now he's coming back to say, okay, time to go.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be fair, like, here's what's rough. The universe has explained the technology, so we don't have to do that. Babylon 5 was made by PTN. We've talked this a ton. It was Warner Brothers trying to spin up their own science fiction channel, and it failed, and they didn't have the same budget that Paramount had for Star Trek. And so that's been a running theme through this episode, is you have these really well-acted scenes, and you're like, yeah, but the special effect that they inserted in the middle of that scene to make it sci-fi detracts from it. And it's, if there had been, Star Trek has those things, the transporters and whatnot, like O'Brien, right? The set for the transporters that O'Brien has, years and years, those look good, right? Star Trek can have a scene where someone goes to a place and says, number one, project blah, 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 and it looks really good. Babylon 5 didn't have it, so every time they try and introduce something new in season 5, it just doesn't look great. All right, now...
I will say one thing that I feel is comparable to the Trek stuff that was on at the same time. The costumes, I feel like, in Babylon 5 are superior to Trek.
Some of this, especially like the Narn costume, that's so detailed and well done.
And the Centauri, their dress, it sort of gives me a sense of what they are like as a people. But each person individually, it's like when I think about the Romulans, and the Romulans all look, they've all got the same bowl cut and the same stupid outfits that look identical. And the Centauri, even though they've got their weird,
the peacock thing going on,
but everybody has their own version of it.
Yep.
So
they do a good job with that, yeah. Because like they're supposed to be an empire in decline from the start, but they're like old regals who are just puffing themselves up. So it's like their hair means like the longer hair is given to like their status in society and the royal things. And of course, they're the ones that like everything comes back. They're getting bombarded in this episode by the seeds that they sowed in the past.
I got to shout out the Flint brothers who noticed this. Basically, season 4, Babylon 5 figured out costumes. The first 3 seasons, they had some growing pains. They're a new show. That's what happens. Season 4, they really figured out costumes. I think set design and some of the CGI just doesn't hold up, and they just never really got the budget for it. If anything, it got rough because the brilliance of the show from the get was that it all takes place on a space station, so it's very contained. And then in season 4 and 5 is where they're going to different planets, going to different worlds, and now they're kind of out of their element. And so, yeah, they're displayed there. Okay, now, so like Londo with his impassioned speech and get the hell off my planet, great end, but instead we have a bunch of people sit in a room.
This was literally because JMS forgot about that whole plot line until the end. He was talking about it on the commentary track. He's, whoops, I got to tie up that one plot line about the pods, the shadow pods that were controlling ships. We'll have Lita say something about it and give Franklin a speech.
Yeah, so all of our command staff correctly recognizes, hey, there was a big nuclear war between two superpowers, and there is now proliferation of goods. Not relevant at all to modern times, sadly. Okay, so there's that going on, right? And them saying, now we're going to have to deal with the fallout of that there is shadow technology out there, that is Vorlon technology out there. We do get Lita basically saying, oh yeah, remember the Vorlons? We're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, we get to go back to their planet in a million years. You're like, cool. Thank you for that. And then again,
I don't know where that came from.
You're like, dang, that's a weird thing. But it's also funny because Lita's sitting here saying, the Vorlons put a bunch of stuff in my brain that I know, and I just know it. People are like, cool, neat, we're going to go over there. And when you were talking kind of the behind the scenes stuff, Mike, I think JMS has basically noted there's a combination of fear, people getting scared of getting too close to Lita because of her power, and Sheridan almost intentionally not wanting her to be close to all of the major decisions because he wants to avoid letting her be the, Dr. Manhattan-like character in the middle of these things.
Well, she's that powerful, and she is a telepath. Yeah. They've had stuff where she's helped the telepaths to blackmail everybody just because she was near them learning their secrets.
Which I'll have to give it. It's not shown enough in any of the stuff we see to buy it, and it still doesn't quite fly to me. And the more boring answer is that I think JMS just didn't have a spot for it. It's Superman. It's like, whenever Superman is in a Batman storyline, even if it's against Joker, you're like, yeah, well, how are we going to make this a story? You got Superman against the Joker. We do end, as Mike said,
yapping.
Delenn says, we won the war, but what did we lose? Now, on that, Mike already kind of alluded to this, Bill. The question we ask our guests that made a lot of sense in season 1, in season 2, season 3, and season 4. You are the first person we get to ask this to in season 5. Bill, are you going to check out any more Babylon 5?
If it comes back to free streaming, I will give it a shot.
Whoa, not bad.
Look
okay.
at that. All right.
It's better than I expected. Now, you and Mike you
have a whole season of episodes to listen to if you want to do a watch along. We only do key episodes, so we get you through pretty quickly there,
Yeah.
Got a podcast to recommend.
Yeah, it's a pretty good podcast. I dig it. You got to check out that podcast that you got to check out. All right, now maybe you and Mike can fight in the pits. You can be like the Drazi, the Narn, and the Centauri. The other thing, we are contractually obligated to say things people should check out. That was a very tepid one. So Mike or Bill, do either of you have something you think our audience should check out?
Geez, I'm going to go back and say, because I just had a conversation with my dad the other day, and we were talking about what's your favorite, not the best canonical movies, but what's your favorite movies by one director? I immediately always go to Stanley Kubrick, and I'm going to say, if you haven't gone back and watched my two favorite Stanley Kubrick movies, go back and watch Barry Lyndon and Paths of Glory. I love those two movies. Those are the ones that whenever I do a rewatch of his films, those stick out to me as those are the ones that I like. I love Paths of Glory. It's a very early movie about a war movie from World War I, about the no man's land, and the first half is like a pretty straight war movie, but the second half, it completely changes into a courtroom movie, which has better and more things to say about war than any other war movie I've seen. And then Barry Lyndon is just, oh my God, it's goofy as hell. It's like a period piece of this rapscallion Irish guy who weasels his way into English high society. But it's the way it's lit. It's amazing. It's, if you've ever gone to an old art museum and seen Renaissance paintings, he lit the entire movie, or like big section of the movie, with natural lighting and candles. So it looks like one of those Renaissance paintings come to life. It's just something you got to see. It's like not what you'd expect when you think of all of his other movies put together. And I'm not putting down like 2001 is like such a great film, but it's
That's
like
what I heard.
My personal ones.
Actually, the critics
put words in my mouth.
The critics at the time didn't like it, so that wouldn't be out of place anyway.
Yeah. All right, Bill, do you got anything?
Does it have to be a movie, or can
anything you think that people should check out instead of season 5 of Babylon 5?
A rock.
Dorothy Hughes, In a Lonely Place. Great noir crime novel. Blew me away. There's a movie version, which is also good, but the book, amazing.
So here's what's going to happen. Sorry to tie it back to this show. I kind of want to read this, Mike, and then picture Garibaldi in it, because we do have the bald-headed guy that briefly showed up. There are several noir episodes with him. And that was a weird Star Trek thing too, right? Where they had Picard in the holodeck doing murder mysteries. So it was this weird thing in the 90s where sci-fi television shows were like, we need to get our captain, our bald action character into a noir. That's what we need. So this is interesting. I love the throwback. I'm going to be more contemporary with mine. At the behest of Mike Slater, I went on a scouting mission. It was on the amazing podcast Sus Stories with the Tiff Myers. So I'm going to suggest checking that out. Check out Sus Stories if you're a comic fan. Tiff Myers goes through comics, very quickly reads through them, and goes through fun sus, as in weird stories that are out of place for comic series. I went on and tripled the runtime, but it was a blast. So recommending that podcast. And I'll say, by the way, just on air to you, Mike, thanks. Because basically Mike was the one who was like, hey, did you hear about this? Did you check it out? And I went and bugged.
And then next thing I know, you're on one of the podcasts I listen to.
Yes, with a verbal agreement on the podcast for a Tiff to come onto ours. Because Mike was like, it'd be cool to get him on ours. And I'm like, I got this. As soon as you've said something on air, Bill, you said if Babylon 5 goes back to free streaming, you'll watch it. That is a contractual agreement. Warner Brothers has that. They know that now. So that's the rules, people. If you say it on a podcast, you're beholden to it. Sure. All right. So easy stuff. Outside of Commonwealth Books, any place you want people to check you out, Bill?
No.
I
got nothing.
Yeah. Probably not even at Commonwealth Books. You can probably come to the store, but leave Bill alone.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill. Okay, now.
Cool. Well, it was great to have you on, Bill. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
Yeah, it's good.
I remain baffled at Mike's almost Pied Piper ability to get his friends to do this, and hopefully you remain his friends. Mike, if your friend circle shrinks because of this show, I will feel bad. Anyway, you can find Mike at the amazing MikeSlater.com. There are recaps of these episodes we do, extra Babylon 5 notes. Mike has started painting Magic the Gathering cards, which are amazing and crossover.
I've actually gotten away from painting Magic the Gathering cards because lately I've been doing the same type of paint job but on sports cards and Marvel cards to do. I just did a Pokemon card. So those are all up on the gallery. You can go to MikeSlater.com, check all those out, the original and what I do to them.
You do click on a card to flip them. Intact because you're like, you said, I've gotten away from painting. I'm like, are you done? You're like Pokemon cards, sports cards, Marvel Universe cards.
I don't do that nerdy stuff anymore. I do the real nerdy
Marvel
stuff.
Universe cards. It just, aren't they? And I have, if I turn to my camera, you guys might even be able to see it. I have binders of cards over here, unopened boxes. So I'm like a card aficionado too. And even I'm just like, I think I'll count it, but I'm going to give you the extra nerd cred for that. So anyway, MikeSlater.com, Slatron, which may or may not make the final cut as to how you got that name. Slatron or Slatron 11, most places on the internet. Go start sending Babylon 5 books to Boston and to Slatron on Blue Sky. And you can find me most places on the internet as Nerd Numbers. And then, of course, look for You Gotta Check This Out anywhere podcasts are found. Thank you all so much. If you insist on watching even more Babylon 5 Season 5, our next episode is...
Episode 19, The Wheel of Fire, with special guest Pete Johnston? Bill, how do you feel? Bill, how do you feel about this? Your younger brother might be on the episode right after you, since Drake gets to ask how you feel about things.
The younger brother who has also made it onto Jeopardy before me, so...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I get to create a quiz for the Jeopardy master.
He'll be a good guest.
Ooh, are we gonna have to answer it in the what is or who is form?
See, that's gonna be a rule. If you answer the form of a question, I take points away from you. So that's gonna be a handicap I'm gonna give to you against him.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, Mike's got a Things for Brothers. We don't have to do a big recap. I love it, Mike. So we'll see you again in a few weeks. More Babylon 5 Season 5. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, all.
Take care.